Hey guys, this is Professor Deering or Professor Fogel or Professor Fogel Deering, however you want to go with that. I wanted to show you guys what we've been working towards in these the secondary source assignments. So this is, I'm going to show you an example Prezi that I've done. So if you haven't already done so, go to www.prezi.com. And you're going to actually create a new account if you don't already have one. There's an option to create a free account. I highly recommend that. It's going to give you enough space to do several Prezis. So if you've already done some for another class, you should still have enough room to do another one. If you've never done one before, sign up for the free one and play with it a little bit before you start work on your actual official one. So I want to show you an example of what a Prezi might look like for the semester history project. So we're going to go into one that I've created as a sort of template. And I want to show you all what it looks like from the editing side. So with Prezi, one of the wonderful things about it is that you're able to really manipulate the images and the content to suit your project. So this is going to be an example, but some of you may want to do something totally different. So this is what it looks like when you go into the sort of home screen. I have chosen this tree template because I like it, but there's a whole list when you create a new Prezi where you'll be able to make new templates. You can make your own template. There's some really cool illustrations and images that you can put with your Prezi. So personalize it, make it your own. So we're going to go into presentation mode and then I'll come back to the editing mode and show you some of the cool features. So this is going full screen. So you'll notice I want you to have a project title somewhere there. I want it to be unique. You can be creative about this. Now you'll notice, actually you may not be able to see, but at the bottom of your screen, if you can't see it right now, there should be a little gray bar and there'll be two arrows. When you click the arrows, that takes you forward and backward in the presentation. It's just like PowerPoint. It should be very intuitive. So if we click the forward button, it is going to zoom you in to the first thing that I have put in this presentation. So from the beginning, you want to tell me about the background of your topic. For some of you, you may be able to do this in one section, one frame. For some of you, you may need to do more than one. It just depends how you're going to organize it and how much content you're going to put there. So when I say section, I'm talking about these sorts of things, these bubbles. So some of these look like circles. You can also make them that look like squares or rectangles. You can really customize this however you want. So when you're doing these sections where you're telling me about your background, you want to think about what was happening in your time period, what year are we in or what years are we in, where are we? Are we in America? Is this America or is this still a colony? Are we in Europe? I know there's a couple of you working on the European side of colonization. So you want to talk about where, and you want to talk about how. What is happening in your time period? What is leading you to your topic background? When you're doing this, this should all be information that was in your secondary source assignment. So if you've been doing a good job on those, you may be able to really use that information here. If you haven't been doing as good a job, I hope this will be an incentive to do a better job as you do your final one. While you're writing this, you need to remember to cite. So the same way that you've been citing in your textbook questions, your reading questions, you're going to want to cite. So I have here a little mock citation with the semester project guidelines, page 3. So remember that you need to cite where you're getting all of this. Now, as you can see, even within the presentation, I can wiggle this all around if I want to, but it's really just easier to continue to use the arrows down at the bottom to move yourself around most of the time. So we're going to come up to another section. Now this is also something that you should have been doing in your secondary source assignments. You want to tell me about where your scholarly secondary source authors are from. Where did they study? What did they study? All those questions. You should already have this information from your secondary source assignments. This should not be new. Now, after you tell me a lot about your background, you've given me a good idea, you showed me you know what's happening in this time period, you've given me your context, you are going to tell me about your primary sources. We haven't started working on primary sources yet. After we do the midterm and you come back from spring break, that will be when we start working on the primaries. So right now you probably don't have anything for this. But again, for some of you this may be in one section, for some of you it may be in 2 or 3. When you're doing your primary source sections, you want to ask the sort of basic reporter questions. Who, what, when, where, why? Who wrote your source? When and where were those sources created? I have wrote here, but for some of you, you may be looking at paintings. You may be looking, in some cases, although I don't think anybody's working directly on this year, you may be working on a piece of music, you may be working on a piece of art. So wrote is the verb I've used there because most of you will be using written primary sources, but some of you won't. That's not excluding you. You'll just do your own thing there. So when and where were they created? What does the source tell you? What does it say? What does it indicate to you about life in that period of time? When you're doing this, you also want to think about how your primary source and your secondary source compare. Often it will be the case that your primary source and your secondary source will line up very nicely. The primary source will give you more of a personal connection, but they'll be basically telling you the same thing. Every once in a while, though, the primary source will tell you something that you didn't expect. It will tell you something that the secondary source left out. It's not to say that those authors didn't know that, but maybe they didn't include it. So you want to think about what they might tell you that's different, what perspective they might give you that is different. Now, this area is probably the area that is the most fun for students. This is where you get to tell me exactly what you think. You can tell me about what you hopefully maybe learned from this project. You can tell me if you found surprising things in your research. You can tell me how you feel about your sources, about your topic, about the project as a whole. If you absolutely hated it, you can tell me that. I won't be offended. This is your opportunity to let all of the thoughts that you've had about this project, your topic, your sources come out. It's your opportunity to express yourself. So express what you're thinking about. And then the very final topic that you're going to address is your works cited. Again, if you've been doing the secondary sources and if you do the primary source assignments right, this is information that you should already have. So when you get into this section, you're going to list out all the sources you used. I want them in MLA format. In the event, I sometimes have students that are more comfortable using another citation method, APA, Chicago, Turabian, etc. If you are more familiar with those and you want to use them, I don't object. MLA tends to be the easiest for students to use. And it tends to be the one that most of you have had to use for your English classes, so you already kind of know what's happening. So you should already have this information. Remember, if you go above and beyond, you get more sources, you find more information after you've already turned in your source assignments. Extra sources will be rewarded with extra credit, so that is an incentive there. Now, I want to show you something that you may or may not have. I'm going to pause that for a second. So one of the features of Prezi that I'll show you how to work is that you can actually insert YouTube videos. So this can be really cool for those of you that have a series of pieces of art that you want to show, or perhaps you want to put a soundtrack behind your presentation. You can do that. So this is an example. I'll turn the sound back on for a second. But this is an example. This is a ballad that Thomas Paine wrote about the Tree of Liberty. So you can add in video, which can be very neat. You can also add in images. So this is a photograph from the Battle of Antietam. So for those of you that are doing more visual source material, if your primary sources are paintings or photographs, you're using some sort of visual media, or you just think this would really enhance your project as a whole, add in some pictures. Pictures are very cool, and for those of you that are visual people, this might be a good place to do that. So now we are going to go back into the edit mode. So here you can zoom all the way out if you want. I want to show you how a couple things work. So I have set up this project so that it goes from the title to the secondary source to the primary source to the personal collection to the works cited and then to the 2 extra things. In order to do that, you go over here to edit path. I would recommend whenever you are creating these, don't worry about the path. Put all of your sections out on the screen and then hit clear all down here. That will clear everything out. Once you've cleared everything out, let me show you guys what this looks like. It is literally a case of going through and saying, I want the title to show up first, and it'll bring that over here. I want this section to show up next, and it'll bring it over here. So you can click where it's going, and you can see kind of how it looks. You might need to zoom in order to grab things. But that is how that works, and that is a very easy way of getting your path correct. I would wait again to do that at the end. Now, I want to show you guys, so if you want to make new frames, you want to make new circles, you can go here. As you can see, you can draw brackets, you can draw circles, you can do a rectangle, you can do an invisible frame for those of you who are the minimalists. Some students also like to make arrows, so in addition to having the path, you can also put an arrow in. So an arrow, you could draw an arrow and say, after you do the secondary, you want to go over here. That's purely up to you. You can do that however you want. You can also insert images, and you can select files if you have them saved on your computer, or there's a nifty feature here where you can Google search images, so that could be very helpful for some of you. You can make symbols, diagrams, you can add in YouTube videos. When you add a YouTube video, you just copy and paste the link and you are good to go. So that can be very useful. You can also add background music. So in the event that you have a song that you feel like really fits your presentation and it's saved on your computer, you can add that. So there's lots of different ways that you can enhance your presentations. And for those of you that go above and beyond and really put together a very creative, well thought out presentation, that's going to give you some more extra credit points, some more, a little bit higher point grade. You can see here there's some different kind of color variations here that you can play with as well. And as I said, this tree image, you do not have to use the tree. I just like it because I like trees. But you can choose your own background and really make it your own. So this is something that you can do a lot with. Now you save up here. This is how you get to the presenting. But then whenever you email me, you can do it this way. So you can share the Prezi like this, and you can add in my email, which again, mfogel@twu.edu. You can send it to me that way. You can also, if that's not how you want to do that, you can also just copy and paste this web address and send it to me that way. So hopefully this helps you guys see kind of where we're headed and how this is all going to work out. I know that there's a lot going on in the semester, but keep up the good work you guys are doing. You're doing really well. You have some really excellent topics. You have some really cool things that you're doing. So keep it up. Let me know if you have questions. Again, I am always happy to talk to you about it. If you get a Prezi going and you want to know if that's what I'm looking for, if that's the kind of thing that I want, I'm more than happy to look at these. My only rule about it is if you email it to me the day before that presentation is due, I'm probably not going to get it back to you in time for you to make your changes. So if you know you're going to want to turn in kind of a rough draft and get some comments back, you can do that, but you just need to plan to get that to me probably the week before. So hopefully this helps. I hope you guys have